Welcome back to another episode of Roc Boys Football. We got a full 2-round 2023 NFL mock draft from yours truly. We got Dylan Rock. Probably going to dig into it a little bit. But again, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Just a ton of support during draft season. We can't thank you guys enough. And we have a blast talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So whether you agree with the picks, whether you don't agree with the picks, get active in the comment section. I'm excited to get into this one. We got all the boys together. Dale and Rock definitely going to give some strong feedback. I'm excited. Guys, without further ado, though, let's get into this. First 5 picks, Bryce Young to the Panthers. This is pretty chalky. It seems like that's going to happen. CJ Stroud to the Texans. Anthony Richardson to the Colts. The Colts trading up to that 3rd spot. The Cardinals get Will Anderson, and then the Seahawks get Jalen Carter. Fellas, how are we feeling about this?
I mean, those first 2 picks, the order, not very obvious, but they're going to be the first 2 overall. If you watch the second of college football, you know those 2 are at such a different level than anyone else in this draft, at least at the quarterback spot. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think the odds flipped recently that Bryce Young's going to be the number 1 pick, which is big. Vegas knows, so I'm not going to really argue.
It was Bryce all along.
Well, I was confused because during the CJ Stroud Pro Day, I think Josh McCown went up to him and was like, "Hey, when you live in Charlotte, we'll go play basketball." I'm like, "Oh, he's going to pick him," but
they're just gaslighting everyone, get trade leverage or whatever.
Right, exactly.
I do want to get your guys' feel. So I think this is going to go. I don't think the Cardinals are picking 3, and I think they're talking to the Colts saying, "Hey, we got like 15 teams on the ringer right now, wanting to trade up to this 3rd spot and take quarterback. You know, the Colts want to take a quarterback at 4. I think that's enough to get the Colts to bite." Trade up for that 1 pick and get their guy. And I'm not totally sure if their guys Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. If I'm picking, it's Anthony Richardson just on the pure upside that he possesses. Fellas, how do we feel about that trade there?
I'm still convinced the Colts are going to trade this pick back and just take someone else. I think that 3rd or that 4th pick is so valuable when you have Jalen Carter or Will Anderson on the board.
What else is valuable? Still a quarterback.
These
pretty damn valuable.
2 are too high risk for that high pick. Yes.
When you have a top 5 pick, you have to swing for the fences. Like, we talk about this all the time. What are you going to be stuck in quarterback purgatory with a Kirk Cousins? Like, yeah, you might make it to the wild card. You're not going to do anything special. Anthony Richardson, or even Will Levis for that matter. I went with Richardson because I think his upside is silly. The Colts are going to take someone that can win them a Super Bowl, and that's a no-brainer, Anthony Richardson, if he reaches his potential.
At this point, Jim Irsay is walking on like tinfoil, not even ice. I mean, you can't keep pushing back this quarterback thing until like what? At what point are they going to take a quarterback?
You have to make it happen. And this is maybe the last time you have a top 5 pick. When you have a top 5 pick and you're able to make it happen, I think you absolutely have to. The Cardinals trade back 4, get the best player that's non-quarterback in this draft, and Will Anderson. And then this has been widely debated with the Seahawks listeners we have. Jalen Carter at 5, I get the concerns, but I mean, he's just too good to pass up at 5 with a position of need.
That's to me a no-brainer. He could arguably be the best overall player in this draft. So if you can get him at 5, that's no doubt. You have to do it.
And I mean, I don't really understand. Like, the Seahawks fans are saying we don't take poor character individuals when their history they have. They always do. I like Bruce Irving. I mean, he had some stuff. I'm trying to think of more examples. I think Richard Sherman had some stuff.
Sherman didn't get along with, and I think that was a little bit like him just butting heads with Harbaugh, and it made him look bad. And I think Harbaugh maybe didn't endorse him in the way teams wanted. But yeah, him and Brandon Browner, you could even go to, they've had guys with care, and they've always done well in terms of getting guys to play and be around.
Pete Carroll, people forget, and this is my main argument is Pete Carroll cut his teeth on coaching college football at USC. He knows how to deal with some maturity issues, if you will, with Jalen Carter. And again, on film, he's the best player in this draft at a position where you want to get better at. Even if he reaches 75% of his potential in the NFL, he's still going to be an all-pro interior defensive lineman. Now, next 5 picks, our next trade-up happens, and that's the Tennessee Titans. Once Will Levis falls, they jump up with the Lions at 6 and go get Will Levis. The Raiders go Tyree Wilson. Falcons go Witherspoon. Bears go Paris Johnson Jr. And then the Eagles go JSN. Fellas, the Will Levis trade. let's talk.
My only issue with that is you don't think they can get him at like 12 or 11?
No, because I think they want to jump the Raiders. I think the Raiders certainly could be in. I think the Falcons certainly could be in. And there's a couple other teams like maybe the Bucks that would want to go get Will Levis. If he's that lone quarterback out, they just met with him the other day. I think that's when Tennessee would jump on it. And he does seem like a Mike Vrabel guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you're already hearing rumblings that Tennessee's kind of looking and seeing how much it's going to cost to get into the top 7-6 picks. And there's just, going back to Dill's point, I don't think there's any way that Levis falls that far. People are too high on him. Apparently the Texans are like circling the waters.
That'd be a problem because then you can't pass up on CJ.
And I know the Colts love him too. And so we'll see I think it's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and then we'll see who the Colts want to get at that 3-4 range. And then there's going to be a quarterback that I think's the odd man out. I'd be really surprised if Seattle or Detroit want to take one of these quarterbacks. So Will Levis is the one that's the odd man out here. And I think Tennessee would be a team that's kind of keeping their eyes out for Will Levis dropping. The Raiders just go. Tyree Wilson's a prospect that's just grown on me in such a big way. I remember texting you guys in like January, maybe even late December, saying, I don't get the Tyree Wilson hype. The more film I get into it, like yes, he's a little lost at times. You go back and watch him at Texas A&M, it's like hilarious how clueless he is at playing football. That being said, like he's just so gifted. I think a lot of teams, especially defensive coaches, are going to be banging the table for a guy like Tyree Wilson.
I'm still a Miles Murphy guy. I think in terms of the whole resume of college football, it was consistently a way higher level. I don't think the athleticism and upside is that different. Like Miles Murphy's a freak in his own right. So I still go Murphy, but it is tight.
For the Raiders, I don't see Murphy just because they have Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, but adding a Tyree Wilson as like a 3-tech makes a lot of sense for me. I think that's a scary defensive line in a division that you need defense with like the Chiefs.
Another pick that I like spent a lot of time, like I had Miles Murphy slotted to be going 8 to the Falcons. I go with Witherspoon. The Falcons they're going to want to play man coverage, and Christian Gonzalez is my cornerback 1 on the board. But in terms of man coverage cornerbacks, it doesn't get better than Devon Witherspoon, what he did at Illinois. So just as a fit, I have Witherspoon there. Paris Johnson Jr. I think that is I feel very, very good about Paris Johnson Jr. going to the Bears. Like he's played he's played right guard. Played left tackle, highest ceiling of the offensive line class. Jackson Smith-Njigba fitting in at that slot with Jalen Hurts. I really like that. And the Eagles are at a position where they can they have the luxury of kind of just getting a player that's going to give them that 1% to maybe win a Super Bowl here.
Yeah, and that's a fair pick. I think the Eagles I'm kind of still thinking they're going to go Brian Branch. I know people think, oh, he ran a slow time and whatever, but the on-field play is just so good. And I do think the Eagles I think they're good enough at wideout at this point to not necessarily need to go that high of a pick for a guy of JSN's ilk. But, I mean, that certainly wouldn't be a bad pick. You do get your slot guy.
I wanted to do Bijan Robinson so badly there. I held off, but I wanted that pick bad. All right, get to the next 5. Miles Murphy, your guy, they'll going 11 to the Lions. I think that'd be a dream scenario. You trade back, you get a guy like Tyree Wilson or Miles Murphy at 11. You also acquire some draft capital. Quentin Johnson, like I'm not selling Quentin Johnson stock. Yes, JSN, I can see JSN being wide receiver 1. Quentin Johnson at 12, though, like you need wide receivers. You want to build around your young quarterback and CJ Stroud. Quentin Johnson has the highest ceiling in this class. Peter Skoronski going to the Jets at 13. That pick makes a lot of sense. Broderick Jones at 14. And then Nolan Smith, Packers, I don't know what they're going to do. You don't really know what that team's going to look like, but they go get probably the best player on the board at 15, and that would be Nolan Smith here.
Yeah, so I see what you did. You're just being your like Lions Jay. You just wanted them to work out really well with Miles Murphy.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I'm a Lions guy.
I don't know. I still think Murphy will go too, but and the rest of this, I think these tackles, this is where it'll get interesting is how many of them get picked top 15. I think, again, if a guy like Quentin Johnson goes off the board early, I think, yeah, there's a good shot these next 2 teams take tackles because I think both could take a wide out, especially the Patriots. But if they don't,
then no Quentin, yeah,
tackles are very much in play.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say is Lions just traded Jeff Okudah. I don't know what you have for the next pick. I hope it's a cornerback because we still have all the cornerbacks left on the board. So they're looking good for pick 18.
So I've talked with a lot of we've done a lot of Lions mocks. They do get a cornerback. It won't be at the next pick, but we will work a cornerback in there. So Detroit Lions fans, sit with us. We will address that at some point. It won't be at pick 18 though. Moving on to the next 5. I spent a lot of time here. So Christian Gonzalez going to the Commanders at 16. Again, cornerback 1. If he's there, I think you take him. Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright's stock in the draft has been absolutely soaring, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would be a perfect fit. Now, Joey Porter Sr., I'm sorry for passing on your son. But think if Darnell Wright's on the board, you need offensive line help desperately. That seems like a perfect fit for Pittsburgh here. The Lions go double down on the Clemson defensive lineman and get my guy Brian Brzee, who I know Dill will be very happy with. The Bucs just get a good player in Brian Branch, and then the Vikings trading up to 20 and get Hendon Hooker. Rock, I want to start with you because I know you have some takes on Hendon Hooker. What do you think about the Vikings trading up in the first round to get their quarterback of the future here?
He's an older prospect. I do like Hooker. It's an aggressive move, but I mean, how much longer can you roll with Kirk Cousins? I mean, it's
1 year. 1 year.
Yeah. And the fan base is kind of getting sick of him. I will say Washington got the steal of the draft with Christian Gonzalez.
Yes, they did.
16, so good for them. And then for Lions fans, I'm so sorry. I mean, for me, this is probably the worst case scenario. I mean, you're getting 2 underperforming Clemson.
Underperforming? Dude, like
in 2022, they underperformed.
They were awesome.
And like their freshman years, yeah, they're great. And then like what else happened after that? So it's tough to watch that. As a Lions fan, I'm sorry. I would have taken maybe Joey Porter there, but again, if you have him in the second round going for him, then I understand.
Brian Brzee, he's top 10 talent. No, undoubtedly in my mind. Like when he's at the height of his powers, he was so dominant, so big, so fast. I don't get these people who think he's like a back end of the first round guy. Like that.
I think he's a second round player. He'll be in the second round. Yes.
That's the interesting part. I don't think he'll fall to the second round because I think teams are going to do their homework on him. They're going to love what you saw in his first year and a half of college football and say, what happened in 2022? And then you get into it. We've talked about it, like coming off an ACL. Sister obviously passes away from leukemia. Like, it was tough. Yeah, kidney disease. If there's going to be a team that says we can get Brian Brzee back to like that floor, that ceiling he has, I would be very surprised if he falls out of the first round. But I do see the concerns with that 2022 film because it's bad. And then Brian Branch to the Bucs, like it's just you don't know what your team's going to look like. You can't go wrong with getting just one of the best players in this draft. At 19. Again, he's a guy that you want speed on the field and stopping the run. Like Brian Branch is a guy who can do that. Dolphins forfeited their pick. Joey Porter Jr. coming off the board at 21 to the Chargers. We got Deonte Banks, the hometown kid, going from Maryland going to Baltimore. Osiris Torrance, the Seahawks trade back here and get that bolster that interior offensive line. And then the Jags getting a guy that had so much draft steam, and then it's kind of weared off, but a guy that I still love in John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah, the only pick and I know Rock's can disagree, but I am not a Deonte Banks first-round corner guy. I think this is a loaded class.
Yeah.
I don't see him first-round person. He just didn't play as well as these other guys. I get there's upside and really good athlete, and there's things to like, but he just wasn't dominant like some of these other studs in this corner class.
Where do you have him ranked as a corner at this point? Is he top 5 at least?
No. He's probably definitely not top 5. I mean, you got guys like Martin Emerson, Jalen Jones. He's big.
You mean Emmanuel Forbes?
Yes,
Emmanuel.
They look similar, yeah. Or not.
They're the same player, but and then I still like Ricks from Alabama. I think he in terms of just pure play, it's just quite a bit higher level than what I thought.
You thought Ricks's play last year is better than Banks' play this year.
When Ricks was on the field, he was nails.
The thing with Deonte Banks and Eli Ricks is Deonte Banks is the superior athlete. Like the one thing I wanted to see from Eli Ricks was the pro day 40 because he didn't run at the combine. It was a 4.6 flat. Like that is concern. I'm a little concerned about the long speed there. So I've moved him down a little bit. I'm still with you. Like long, good ball skills, very, very good. Put his hands on receivers. I am these receivers in the NFL are fast, and I'm a little bit worried about him having that vertical speed. Getting to the next 5. So I went Jordan Addison over Zay Flowers, and I know Rock probably not going to be a huge fan of it. I know the Giants want a wide receiver. Jordan Addison, and we have Malone who is hates Jordan Addison. You turn on the film. He's the most polished wide receiver in this class, arguably behind Jackson Smith-Njigba. He knows how to run his routes. He knows how to set cornerbacks and DBs up. Yes, he's not the athlete that a guy like Zay Flowers is, but he has a full route tree. He creates separation with very, very good route running. You look at the wide receivers in the NFL who are having success. It's not the freak athletes. It's the guys who know how to run routes and get open. I think Jordan Addison can make that happen in the NFL. Rock, I'm excited to hear your take on Bijan Robinson. I know we did that, and I wanted to do something different, but I just fell too much in love with it. Dill, I know you're going to be upset about the Bills taking Zay Flowers. The Bengals go get my tight end one of the class and Luke Musgrave, and then Kalijah Cansey coming off the board at 29. Rock, I'm going to kick it to you first, the Bijan Robinson pick. Let's hear it.
Well, first, I see why you put Addison there so you could give Zay Flowers to the Bills. So, I mean, kudos to you.
I didn't pick him because I think Zay Flowers does too much of what Wayndell Robinson does. That was kind of my take on it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Going back to the Bijan pick, we've talked about this time and time again. If he's there, I think he's 100% going to be the pick, no matter really who's left on the board. Jerry Jones is going to love him. He's going to sell jerseys. And, yeah, I mean, he's top 5 player. You get him at 26. I can't really complain too much.
I just don't get how you have Anton Harrison on this draft board, and you're going to tell me we're not taking. If Darnell Wright or Anton Harrison is on the board and we don't take him, I'm not rooting for the team anymore. Because I can't watch the right tackle play, and it's like
you don't like Spencer Brown, dude? Oh my gosh,
you like him?
No, he's horrible. He's the worst right tackle in football at this point.
Who's your new team?
He's Cowboys.
I need the Lions because I'm a Michigan guy. I'm a Michigan guy at heart, so I got to be Lions.
My concern with Anton Harrison, we haven't seen him play right tackle, so it's like I don't.
Oh, please! If you can play left, you can play right.
That's fair enough. But to be fair, like the Bills don't get enough like dirt on. Like that offense was phenomenal because of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Like there is very little other offensive playmaking on that team. I think Zay Flowers would add some juice to the Bills, but I do get your concern. I do have a tackle coming to the Bills in the next round. It is a guy you like, so maybe
I can. Nobody like Anton Harrison. I think is a top 20 player. I think he's right up there with that.
Okay, spoiler alert: Matthew Bergeron goes to the Bills in the second round. Are you still a Bills fan or no?
It's top. I don't love him.
He's a Western New York kid in Western New York. I love it, Jay.
That is true, but he played in the Dome, so that's not great. But other than that,
you're a Florida boy for always.
I want to touch on the Luke Musgrave trade, or not trade, but pick Joey Burrow. Like you have two. I think this is like such a perfect fit. Like Luke Musgrave works the middle of the field better than any tight end in this class. You have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, those boundary guys. Joey B loves his tight ends. I would love Luke Musgrave. I'd win our fantasy championship with Luke Musgrave as my tight end here.
And that's why you never win. But it's okay. I would have rather had Dalton Kincaid. He's my tight end one, but I do see the fit with the Bengals, and they're definitely in need of a tight end after Hurst left this year.
Kalijah Cansey, at some point he had to come off the board. I chose the Saints, but he's not like these two guys. We can talk about these. So I have your guy Dalton Kincaid, who I just think it's a phenomenal fit. Like I'm not saying Travis Kelce's washed yet, but like I would really like Dalton Kincaid to be Travis Kelce's understudy. These are the two guys that like I kind of had to work into the first round, Kalijah Cansey and Lucas Van Ness, but two guys that I have some big time question marks about. Kalijah Cansey, obviously a major outlier in the size and the weight. Lucas Van Ness is a guy that I see why people have him as a top 10, top 15 prospect. I'm not there on it, but I do think the Eagles, who have just enough pass rush right now, can get a guy like Lucas Van Ness, develop him a little bit because he has no clue what he's doing unless he's just running right through tackles. And so you develop him a little bit. I think he can be good at the next level. I'm just not taking him in the top 15 yet.
Really quickly with the Chiefs pick, I think that's an awesome pick, to be honest. They can just run 12 personnel and pick apart defenses. And as a Bills fan, I mean, that's got to have nightmares running in your brain already. Kincaid and then
we can't deal with Travis Kelce. So hopefully,
I think he's the best pass catcher in the entire draft at tight end. So I mean, it's a great pick for them.
All right, breaking into round 2. Rock, your boy Cam Smith coming off the board. So the Steelers pass on Joey Porter Jr. in the first. They get their guy Cam Smith in the second. And this is, Dill, to your point, like maybe not reaching it if you don't love Deonte Banks as a first-round dude. Like there are so many cornerbacks that are going to come off the board in the second round that are so good. So reaching on a guy like Deonte Banks, maybe not the move. Houston Texans just eating their vegetables, getting one of the best interior guys in the class, can play center, can play guard, and Steve Avila. Your boy Anton Harrison finally off the board at 34. Michael Mayer to the Colts. I love that fit. You get Anthony Richardson. Go get him a big physical tight end in Michael Mayer. And then Felix Anudike-Uzomah, another one-year guy, is going 36 to the Rams. Rock, I want to hear your takes on Cam Smith, and then Dale, you can go to work with Anton Harrison and Felix Anudike-Uzomah here.
No, I think he fits with the Steelers defense. And that's kind of like that dog mentality.
They got two dogs coming in, Darnell Wright and Cam Smith.
No, yeah, I love that. Some big talkers, especially on social media. Well, no, I mean, it's a great fit. They need a corner, and it works out.
That's that was a weird whatever it was with Darnell Wright. I don't know why he's doing that, but aside from that, this is Anton Harrison. Don't think he's possibly making it 34. Too good. And then
I'm nervous Anton Harrison is going to come into my DMs now.
I hope he does and tells you I'm gonna be a Buffalo
loser
Bill.
With the mustache telling me I'm not a first round tackle.
I'd like that tweet. But Felix Anudike-Uzomah, like, I just want to get to. I don't get what people don't see in him. I still see him as. I think if you took a mid first round, I wouldn't even mind it. Not, I know it's not going to happen because like I can't be like right and everyone else is that wrong. But I just think in terms of being an ultra polished pass rusher who was really good for his period of time at Kansas State, I mean, he's right up there with anyone. I get he's not that freak athlete, but he was a great player.
I think you watch his tape against Anton Harrison, and that's why people are kind of shying away from him a little bit because Anton bullied him. I mean, he's pushing him to the ground constantly against Kansas State, and I think that's his weakness. At the point of attack, he's not the most consistent, like, powerful player. Like, he's got to figure it out that way. But I mean, in terms of
fair, I thought he did okay in at least in the pass rush. But you're probably right. There are some like physical limitations for sure, and just not being that big and that powerful at the end of the day. But really developed pass rusher.
Yeah.
All right, next five here. See, I've been battling with Seattle Seahawks fans like all draft season, whether it's Jalen Carter, whether it's taking a wide receiver at pick 20. You pass on the wide receiver at pick 20, and then you get, in my mind, a perfect fit, right? Like a guy in the slot that can just – Josh Downs is steady. Like, he doesn't drop any balls. He's very physical at the catch point. He's for being a small guy, like, he's phenomenal in contested catches. He's tough over the middle field. He's also good after the catch. Emmanuel Forbes, I'm so confused because I love his film, but man, 6'1", 168. Like, I'm just worried about dealing with physicality at the next level. Tommy Adebawore coming off the board to the Panthers. Will McDonald 40 to the Saints, and then Dill, your guy, Jack Campbell, going to Detroit. Fellas, whatever it takes here.
Dill, you want to go first?
Do it.
All right. Well, first for the Seahawks, I think Jalen Carter, O'Cyrus Torrence, and Josh Downs. That's 3 first-round picks in my mind. That's a win. So that's awesome. Then the Will McDonald pick for the Saints, I love because you pair him up right next to Kalijah Kancey, and I mean that's a scary young defensive line. So those are the 2 picks I kind of.
Will McDonald's bursting back. Like the reason he's falling out of the first round is because I really do worry about it. Him and BJ Ojulari are 2 guys that I love. The play strength's just not there. But Will McDonald, in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage with that first step and just like dipping under tackles around him, like he's elite at that. He's a very good pure pass rusher. He does need to just I don't know if he needs to gain weight, but he needs to play stronger because he gets bullied when he gets bullied a little bit in the run game.
The only thing I'll say is with Iowa State, they did him no favors. It's tough to kind of evaluate him on like a 5 technique when he's obviously like an edge, like a true edge defender. So I do agree. He definitely needs to show.
You could say the same thing about Felix Anudike-Uzomah, in my opinion. Like playing that style where they were both kind of playing on tackles a fair amount head up. I don't get. If you're like a really good pass rusher, you need to be that true like wide on the edge guy.
Especially a guy like Will McDonald who needs space.
Yeah, 100%.
Tommy Adebawore, so I'm getting a lot of Kalijah Kancey, Aaron Donald takes. That you're looking, I'm not saying Tommy Adebawore is going to be an Aaron Donald, but like a shorter guy who's just a muscular freak and then has like almost 34-inch arms. That's like, if there's a guy that could be special, like Tommy Adebawore, I'd keep an eye on him.
I mean, you just watch him blow guys on Ohio State off the ball like relatively consistently, and those are like some good offensive line, and obviously a handful of them are in this draft. That to me is like where you see like there's a different level of explosion. There's like a lot of power in his hands, and a guy I just think you can do a lot with. I don't think he's a great edge rusher. He's not an every down player in the middle, but I think there's enough situations where you can get him on the field, like he'll be really good.
I know you passed on corner for the Lions again, but a Jack Campbell and Dan Campbell pairing is just made in heaven. So I love
They
that.
need better linebackers. Like Alex Anzalone is just he ain't gonna cut it no more. I don't know how you bring him back. Like Malcolm Rodriguez, I like the pick out of Oklahoma State last year. I think Jack Campbell's he's my linebacker one at least on the film. I think that would be a really nice pick. I did pass on the corner, but they also have like 3 second-round picks here. All right, moving down the board here. Here's a guy I want to talk a little bit about, Antonio Johnson. Brian, he was a first-round. He had a first-round grade out of summer scouting for me. No one's talking about him anymore. He's still a very good football player, kind of does similar to what Brian Branch does. I think Brian Branch's film is pretty clearly better. Antonio Johnson is a phenomenal athlete who, again, you want speed with guys who can make plays in the box against the run. Antonio Johnson's that guy. Darnell Washington, I just like build the trenches up a little bit. You know, you get your 6 offensive linemen who can work the middle of the field. I do think Darnell Washington will be a top 50 guy. Carl Brooks, talk about a little my guy, like stick my flagpole in the ground. Carl Brooks is a top 50 player in this draft, and I think he's a phenomenal fit for Atlanta. Jalen Hyatt coming off the board at 45, still a little early for me. And then Keely Ringo betting on the traits at 46. First want to get your takes on Darnell Washington and then Carl Brooks. Still, talk a little bit about Carl Brooks, though.
Well, Carl Brooks is like, I mean, he's
Awesome.
kind of the guy you want, like big, really good athlete. I think he's going to mostly play in the inside and in the NFL
Yes.
at this point. I think you probably put him on the edge in a pinch, depending on what scheme you're running and what you're trying to do. But I think mostly on the inside is where he'll fit. But when you're that big, that athletic, I mean, you just kind of sky is your world.
His burst and bend like from the edge at 6'4", 300 pounds is next level. Then the Senior Bowl, he looked apart. Like you were worried a little bit about he's dominating guys on both. His 49 hurries, 25% pass rush win rate. Like he dominated against MAC competition. You worry about him taking that step up to the NFL. Thought he looked good in the Senior Bowl. Atlanta needs help not only stopping the run but getting after the passer. Carl Brooks can do a little bit of both. And then Roc, Jalen Hyatt. Like what have we gauged your how are you evaluating Jalen Hyatt?
I've kind of like fallen off on him a little bit recently. I also think that with the Packers specifically, they have Dobbs and they have Watson who kind of stretch the field already. So in that sense, I'd look for kind of more of a possession receiver. I know, something like that. But I think Jalen Hyatt's still a second-round pick. But this is a round where I'll see him. And then Keely Ringo talks about him switching to safety. I don't know about it, but I think the Patriots are really good at getting creative when they pick players that maybe have like a tweener style. So that's a good fit for him.
Because even that, like you look at a guy like Gilmore, he was never like the stickiest corner in the world. Like when he was a pure man guy, that wasn't necessarily where you wanted him, but he was a guy who get his hands on footballs, take it away, and they obviously that's where he
don't give the Patriots credit for Stephon Gilmore. That was Bills groomed him.
He was not nearly as good on the Buffalo Bills, and then he came on to the Patriots and it was awesome. He was good on the Bills, but he wasn't an all-pro on the Bills.
I'm still salty about Stephon Gilmore. I thought that was an absolute. I was so rattled when he left. All right, next 5. DeJuan Jones finally coming off the board. Like at some point, I'm not a huge fan of like taking the big time outliers early. So DeJuan Jones coming off at 47. You pass on tackle in the first round to get Christian Gonzalez. I'm gonna kick that one to you. But then Cedric Tillman, another guy that people are not talking enough about. You look at that Detroit wide receiver room. You have your speedster Jameson Williams. You have your middle like Monron St. Brown kind of working the slot. Go get a big possession receiver in Cedric Tillman, who out of 105 catchable balls only dropped 4 during his career at Tennessee. Eli Ricks, you guys know how I feel about Eli Ricks. Trenton Simpson going to the Bucs, and then Jahmyr Gibbs coming off the board at 51 to the Dolphins. They'll start with DeJuan Jones a little bit.
I don't think you can cross your feet in the NFL and be particularly successful. And again, you watch his film whenever he's pass setting, if he's not on guys immediately, which when he can do that, it's like kind of effective and just get on guys and quick set them. But the feet crossing, I'd be so concerned about it because I don't know what you can really do.
Roc, what are your takes on DeJuan Jones?
I mean, I'm higher on him than Dill is. I think that he does
too.
Some poor feet, but he makes up with it.
He's 6'8", 370 pounds. He's not going to be moving out there like Paris Johnson, who's 300.
Yeah, and I think just one off season in an NFL weight room and just getting him working with trainers and having a good diet. I think it's going to help him as well. So I think that the Washington definitely needs some more offensive linemen. I mean, by the end of the season, that line was depleted. So it makes sense in terms of fit. And then I will say Cedric Tillman, if you can't hit on a Quentin Johnson in the first round, Cedric Tillman for the Lions makes a lot of sense in the second. So I like that pick.
He's a really good number 2 in my mind. I don't think he'll ever be a team's 1, but
he can be a
versatile, big physical wideout. I think that's like a perfect, like almost like what Anquan Bolden did in the league for so long. Like he was never really the number 1 for a team, but he was a really solid 2 and was super productive. Just seemed like for forever.
And I think he fits perfectly. Like you have this speedster field stretcher with Jameson Williams and St. Brown kind of working in the slot. Like I think he kind of fits perfectly. Eli Ricks, again, one of my personal favorites. Him and Cam Smith going to dominate for Pittsburgh. Trent Simpson, like you see White wants to be traded. You look for another hyper athletic linebacker. Trent Simpson's film, not there. Like it was really not that good. You could add that to the list of Clemson guys who just not flopped, but did not help their draft stock in 2022. Very, very good athlete. Everything you want to look for in an NFL linebacker. And then Jahmyr Gibbs. The Dolphins need a running back. He's my running back 2 on the board. Can do everything you want for a team. Solid, I think, for the Dolphins.
I think that the Dolphins pick with Gibbs is probably my favorite in the entire draft. I mean, that's scary. Scary speed, and they needed a running back, and it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you need a guy to just give the ball to. I feel like they do a lot of like musical chairs at the running back spot and have been for a while. Like just get a guy who like you can kind of just know, and they'll fit that scheme because they're not a big power run team. They're going to spread it out. They have a lot of good fast wideouts. I think he fits that system pretty well.
All right, next 5 coming off the board. Julius Brent's another one of my favorites. And that's what I mean. Like, you're going to see such a heavy run on cornerbacks in the second round because there's so many good ones. Julius Brents, the Seattle Seahawks took a gamble on Tariq Woolen last year, kind of a raw but like physically gifted cornerback. Julius Brents is another guy that fits that to a T. B.J. Ojulari finally coming off the board. I'm obviously kind of said the play strength not there for me, but again, he's only 20 years old, not even 21 yet. So I think he still can kind of get some of that man strength going. Tank Dell, you miss on Zay Flowers at 21. That's a very popular pick. They settle with Tank Dell here. You're Jalen Jones, finally cornerback, going to Detroit. I think that's a very good pick. And then Tyree Stevenson going to the Jags. Rock, I'll kick it to you first. How do you view these 5 picks here?
The tallest cornerback duo maybe in history for the Seahawks with Tariq Woolen and Julius Brents. So that's interesting to say the least. I'm not that high on Brents, but I think it's a cool pairing. I think that'd be really cool to see on NFL.
And that's what Seattle does that. They want the traits. They draft traits all the time. Julius Brents has traits.
Yeah, no. And then for the Bears, they did trade away what was that defensive end? He's on the Cowboys. Robert Quinn midseason to the Eagles and replacing with an Ojulari makes a lot of sense. I think they have similar skill sets and there's not enough edge defenders that are bendy like Ojulari, and in the second round, it's a good place to pick someone like that.
My only issue with Ojulari, just like the play on the field really wasn't like not even close. Like, yeah, you guys get on the Clemson guys and like you can kind of, I don't know, like split hairs with how well they played. But at the end of the day, they were still really dominant players for most of their college career. I think BJ Ojulari, like this year, there were a lot of games you didn't really notice him play at really a pro level. I thought. And again, you talk about it. He's got the physical attributes, like to be that tall, that athletic, and it's just. But at some point, you got to play really good football. I just didn't think there was enough of that from him. And the only other guy I want to talk about, if you've watched any of us, Jalen Jones, I'm a big fan of him. But I think Tyreek Stevenson is sneaky one of the better corners in this draft because
it's such a limited group.
He's big, he's physical, and in terms of like being able to stick with guys in man coverage, like you watch him against Aeneas Smith in A&M, he looked really good, and that's a tough wideout to stick with, and to be that big and that physical and be able to like shadow guys like that, I think Tyreek Stevenson, he's up there. I think he's a really good corner.
Yep.
Giants get my guy Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. I've been picking John Michael Schmitz a lot for the Giants at 25. I think that's a nice consolation prize there at pick 57. Rock, I'm very interested to hear your takes on Mozzie Smith going. Dill, Matthew Bergeron, maybe you can still be a Bills fan. Oro Ojoma, one of my favorite players in the draft, going 60, and then Luke Weipler coming off the board at 61 to the Bears, excuse me. Rock, I want to get your feel on Mozzie Smith to the Cowboys at 58 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely some interest from the Cowboys already, even in the first round. So I think it's good value. I didn't love Mozzie Smith's tape. I think
neither, and that's why I'm a Michigan guy, and I just think it just wasn't.
And like you heard his name throughout the year, whether it was good or bad, but I just expected more from his tape. I mean, everyone's talking about how much of a freak he is. He can bench 1,000 pounds and squat 1,000,000. And sometimes you just don't see that in tape. I mean, we watched the Iowa film, I think it was, and he was getting moved around by like cornfield, like
that is the issue. The explosiveness isn't always there. Like that freaky, like, oh, he can jump up the stairs so quick and whatnot. It's like on the field though, you still got to play like you got to have that Tommy Adebawore kind of like get off an explosion.
Bill, do you think he played too many snaps for Michigan? Because that was another when I was getting into Dexter's game, Gervon Dexter. Like Gervon Dexter played like 600 snaps for the Gators because they had no depth. We also at Michigan did not have a lot of depth. Right. I wonder if that's where a little of the lack of consistency in the film was.
But the problem is, even against teams that were playing slow, it still wasn't there. It's like I get it if you're playing like a team that's running snaps every 5 seconds, but Michigan played slow. Iowa played slow, and then it's like in that game was one of the worst games you'd see of him.
Well, he can't move laterally. Like he just like when you get him moving inside. I kind of disagree. When you let him just go after the passer, I think he can rush the passer, be explosive. When you get him moving side to side, like he ain't good.
If Mozzie Smith kind of like follows the same path as Rashawn Gary, former Michigan player as well.
Shout out
defensive line of DeMarcus Lawrence, Mozzie Smith, Oso Digizua, and then Micah Parsons is quite scary if you think about it. So I mean, I'm a fan of this pick. It's good value.
And then Dill, Matthew Bergeron, saving your Bills fandom here.
Yeah, I mean that would be a nice pick. I do think Bergeron. He's not a particularly physical tackle, I wouldn't say, but a really elite pass protector. I think
which Spencer Brown isn't. Like Spencer Brown's physical. Like he's a physical dude. He's just ain't a good pass protector.
Yeah, you just can't like block a guy, but that's okay. And then, so I would like Bergeron again. I still don't. I would hate passing up Darnell Wright or Harrison in round 1, but if it comes to it, I like that's the guy the Bills need.
The thing is, I don't think I'd be surprised if Matthew Bergeron. There was like maybe a part of me that I wasn't thinking about this, but like saving Matthew Bergeron for at 59 of the Bills. But like, I don't know if he'll be there at pick 59. Moro Jomo, I'll talk about him. Like he again, 285 pounds, like a little undersized, but takes on blocks from the inside extremely well. But you won't find many better pass rushers from the inside than Moro Jomo. Can do a lot of different things on that defensive line that Texas had him do. I think that'd be a nice pick for the Bengals. And then Chicago Bears. This is more of a vegetable, like eat your vegetables, go get a very, very solid center for Justin Fields to develop. I don't know if they played together. And then the last 2 picks, I couldn't pick for the Chiefs yet because then it'll go away from this. Darius Rush to the Eagles. Boys, we'll make a selection together for the Chiefs. Second round. Rock, I know you love Darius Rush here. Where are we going at 63 for the Chiefs, though?
They got tight end round 1.
Drew Sanders. Come on.
I mean, yeah, they actually have some really good value. Banks makes a lot of sense. I think him studying underneath Chris Jones.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Perfect.
100%. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. That's actually a no-brainer there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great draft. I mean,
and Rock, like one of the things for the Eagles that's like silently nobody was talking about is like they had really good cornerbacks, like their first team cornerbacks, but like they got no one behind him. And so like late second round, like go get another cornerback just to add to you get Bradbury and Slade back, but you're not sure how long that's going to last. And after that, it gets a little ugly. I think Darius Rush would have some nice depth there.
Yeah, I think that Slade kind of fell off towards the back end of the season, and that's kind of why they were looking to shop him around, and then they cut him or did something and then brought him back mysteriously. It's a weird situation, but getting some cornerback depth is good, especially because they refuse to take corners in the first round, so it makes a lot of sense in the back half of the second round.
Yeah, and there we have it. 40 minutes. That's we were in and out of here. Tried to keep it short for you guys, but again, appreciate you guys sticking with us. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll be back during draft night breaking down the picks as well. So again, if you do enjoy it, lock in for that as well. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.